Pay close attention. What you're about to see is Bible prophecy being fulfilled.
Welcome to another edition of YPN News, bringing you the news that relates to Bible prophecy and foretold by Yeshua Hawkins. Several articles to cover with you today, including a report that has one city in Texas taking some very drastic measures to get so-called drinking water. But first, we're going to look at the Russian troop buildup on the eastern border of Ukraine. Now, both the Ukrainian government and NATO are worried about the intent of the Russian troops massing on the other side of the eastern Ukrainian border. The Pentagon believes there to be about 20,000 Russian troops, while the Ukrainian government says that number is as high as 60,000 troops. Like a big difference.
Yeah, huge difference. Now, NATO's top military commander, General Philip Breedlove, commented on the troop buildup during a recent forum in Brussels. He said, "There is sufficient, absolutely sufficient force postured on the eastern border of Ukraine to run to Transnistria if the decision was made to do that. And that's very worrisome," he said. So it clearly, when we talk about threat in the military, we marry capability with intent. So, of course, what is Russia's intent there?
And the intent is what they're looking for.
Right.
Now, General Philip Breedlove is proposing that if Russian forces did come across Ukraine's eastern border, they may not stop at eastern Ukraine, but in fact they could cross the entire country to the Transnistrian region of Moldova, which is a region that wants to be part of Russia. Now, this would create a host of problems, as you can imagine, both politically and with the military if they're going to cross right through the country, about 700 kilometers.
Interesting. Now, Moscow's official position is that the forces are simply carrying out exercises. NATO, however, is not taking any chances and are beefing up their own troops in the region. During a Press TV interview, William Jones of the Executive Intelligence Review asked for his comments on NATO's troop buildup closer and closer to Russia.
And Mr. Jones, he said, it's very ominous. When you have that kind of buildup of military forces effectively on the border of Russia, this causes a reaction among the Russians. They have, over the period of the last 20 years, seen NATO getting closer and closer. And the games that have been played in Ukraine have been extremely dangerous.
No, that's one thing that's been a concern for Russia because NATO has been inching closer to its borders. Well, he continued, there is an attempt to pull together a political solution involving all parties, but at the same time, the U.S. has the sanctions already imposed on Russia for the Crimean debacle, and they are also threatening more sanctions, of course. So it's a dual policy, which isn't creating trust anywhere in the U.S., NATO, Crimea, anywhere.
That's right. Now, he also stated that blame is being put on Vladimir Putin for events taking place in Ukraine at this time. However, Mr. Jones went on to speculate that the parties on the Maidan and the parties occupying buildings in eastern Ukraine are not being controlled by anyone but themselves, and the resolution to this conflict will have to come from within the country, that NATO and Russia can both start drawing back to their corners.
I guess we'll see how it goes. When asked who will benefit from any sort of war between NATO and Russia, Jones made 2 points. First, he commented that there are those who sing we are in the worst financial crisis in history, feel they can take over what remains of the world's economy when war breaks out.
And secondly, and more importantly, he emphasized that for the world at large, a war today really is a nuclear war. Russia and the United States and NATO, these are nuclear powers. He continued, if a war starts even on a conventional or a skirmish level, this can quickly escalate to nuclear war, and then all humanity is at stake. so nobody benefits. But there are a lot of people who will push it anyhow, thinking that somehow they can win that war.
And of course, we've seen from history, Jeff, that there are no winners in war.
That's right.
None whatsoever. Now, as we've reported before, the drought has a death grip on the nation's southwestern states, including Texas. In fact, in one Texas border city, the drought is so bad that city officials are considering a solution that might not be too palatable for some. Since the current lake that supplies the city of Wichita Falls, Texas, is so low, city officials are planning on taking sewer water, yep, you heard me, sewer water, and turning it into tap water.
Wow. Well, since 2011, Wichita Falls has been experiencing exceptional drought, and times have called for desperate measures. Now, the plan is to take 5 million gallons of sewer water and recycle it back into the drinking supply, saving 5 million gallons from being drawn from the lake that currently supplies the city, which is called Lake Arrowhead, which is currently, Catan, only 27% full.
That is extremely low. Now, once the idea was considered, the wastewater had to be tested, and officials say it wouldn't take much to turn it into drinking water. All that was lacking was the pipeline connecting the wastewater plant to the water treatment plant. Well, that project has now been completed, and most residents are all for it, considering the other option that they say is on the table, which is running out of water. Currently, Wichita Falls is close to reaching level 5 drought restrictions, which means absolutely no unnecessary water usage at all, not even washing your car.
Now, it's not uncommon for cities to treat wastewater and then send it out to the streams and reservoirs, but this option that's on the table will put that treated water directly into the drinking water supply. There's an organization called the Water Reuse Association, which include utility companies, government officials, and researchers who are pushing hard for this to become common.
Now, cities in California, Florida, and North Carolina are considering using wastewater and putting it directly back into the drinking water, but Wichita Falls in Texas is the first city actually putting this into effect.
As we close out our broadcast today, Russia is carrying out military drills and say they have nothing to do with Ukraine, but are designed to counter military. Now, two missiles were fired from strategic submarines and a third from a defense Cosmos drone in northern Russia. The Russian president has attended a summit that's designed to finding ways to override massive nuclear missile attacks.
Well, thousands of years ago, water was turned into wine. Now mankind is doing the opposite, turning, yes, poopy water into drinking water. Although I don't think it's going to have the same beneficial effect. One would think the nuclear burning coming from the wars that are on the horizon is just what we need to cleanse this mess from what we've created for ourselves. Well, Yisrael Hawkins of the House of Yahweh has been preaching that mankind is bringing destruction and defilement on this earth, and their wars will burn off the defilement from the earth and the atmosphere. Find out more about what's the cause and the solution, the peaceful solution to all of mankind's problems. Yisrael Hawkins has the key to your survival, and here's what you need to do.
To contact the House of Yahweh, you can write them at the House of Yahweh, P.O. Box 2498, Abilene, Texas 79604. You can call them at 1-800-613-9494. Visit them on any of their websites, www.yahweh.com, www.yisraelhawkins.com, or www.yahwehsbranch.com. You can email them at info@yahweh.com. And for any calls coming from outside the United States, please call the number on your screen.
Stay with us. Up next, the only man authorized to bring forth the pure living waters of life, Yisrael Hawkins. From all of us here at YPN News, I'm Catan Alexander.
And I'm Jeffrey Heimerman.
Thank you for joining us.